Everyone operates with some cognitive distortions. It doesn't indicate pathology, but we need to develop self-awareness as to when we're doing it, because operating from faulty thinking can cause a lot of harm, not just in our relationships, but internally with ourselves as well. The first step is to identify that you do it. And the second is changing those patterns by rewriting those stories and experiencing your emotions so that you can create the loop back to safety so that the trauma can leave your body. So my ex was some kind of an anxious attacher. He often used mind reading, jumping to conclusions, and making assumptions about what I thought and what I felt and what I intended. If he walked in the door and I didn't immediately drop what I was doing to give him my undivided attention, he would assume that something was wrong and that I was mad at him. The thinking patterns in and of themselves are not abusive. They're reflective of somebody with anxious attachment or hypersensitivity. They're a trauma response. Abuse comes in when you allow those faulty thinking patterns to drive your behavior. So on a day like this, my ex would spend the remainder of the evening interrogating me, asking me over and over, insisting that I was lying. He would hyper attune to how I would manage my phone, would start to question everything I did. If I was playing solitaire, he would be asking who I was talking to. He would accuse me of changing the notification settings on my phone. You used to get Facebook notifications and now you don't. You went into your phone and changed the settings, which wasn't true at all. It was absolutely maddening. And all of it was fueled by his faulty narratives. Another one is emotional reasoning. This is big for both the narcissist and the empath. Emotional reasoning means that when we feel something, it must be true. So if we feel guilt, we must be a bad person, even though there's no evidence to support that. All of a narcissist's behavior is based on how they feel. They walk around feeling like shit all day because deep down they hate themselves. And instead of working on their wounds, they project it onto you, saying that you're making them feel that way. Then they justify their actions because that's how they feel. Empaths that are unaware can be the same way. They are highly attuned to the emotions of other people. Emotions are energy in motion, vibrational frequencies. They can viscerally feel these frequencies. So an unaware empath that doesn't know this is happening will feel the guilt and shame that the narcissist projects onto them and emotionally reasons with themselves that the guilt and shame belongs to them. So because the narcissist tells them they're a bad person, and because they viscerally feel the guilt and shame, they start to think that they're a bad person, not realizing that the guilt and shame belongs to the narcissist. My ex was also a black and white thinker. He would get so frustrated with me because he would ask me a yes or no question and I couldn't answer it with a yes or no answer. I would say, well, it depends on A, B, and C. And he would get so mad and tell me that I can never answer his questions directly. Notice the use of never, which is an absolute. That's also part of black and white thinking. He would accuse me of being on the fence or being shady. And this would get me frustrated because I was answering his question honestly. It took me a long time to realize that the conflict we were experiencing was due to his inability to see gray. Everything was black and white, either or, right or wrong. And this simply isn't how the world works. I know that this thinking pattern isn't exclusive to narcissism. This is how children think. When I was battling depression in my 20s, this is how I thought. But I believe that a large part of the healing work that we do is to identify all of the faulty thinking that keeps us stuck in loops of fear, of self-sabotage, of conflict, and then learning to rewrite those stories, learning to work through them. Just because you have a patterned way of thinking, it doesn't mean you can't change it. You absolutely can, and neuroscience research supports that claim. The first step is self-compassion, which will naturally lead to empathy for others, the development of gray thinking. No one is inherently bad. We're all just on our own journey of healing. Maybe we reach it in this lifetime and maybe we reach it in another lifetime. But the path to self-actualization is developing healthy empathy.